No.
My daughter was scared. She would get out the car and run straight to the door, open it and lock it right back. She was terrified. And she told me, she said, "Dad, dude, he gonna kill me." So no, he ain't. Look where we at.
It wasn't supposed to end like this. Brittany Booker was a 30-year-old mother of 6, a woman who spent her whole life fighting to protect her kids, only to be hunted down by a man the system already knew was dangerous. A man who'd attacked her before. A man who should have been in custody. A man with a warrant so loud and obvious, you'd think the police would have moved heaven and earth to keep him off the streets. But they didn't. And because they didn't, Brittany was left to fight for her life alone. Stopped, terrorized, and finally cornered outside her own home. In the final hours of her life, Brittany wasn't dealing with a breakup or an argument or a moment gone wrong. She was dealing with a predator who had decided her fear wasn't enough. He wanted her gone. And even after he'd already cracked her skull with a hammer weeks earlier, nobody stopped him. Nobody protected her. Nobody took him off the streets. So he came back to finish what he started. This is the story of a mother who tried to survive a man obsessed with destroying her, in a system that watched her die with its hands in its pockets. Brittany Booker deserved better. Her children deserve better. And the people who failed her, they should have to look her babies in the eyes and explain why a monster was allowed to walk free. Welcome to the American Crime Femicide channel. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future uploads.
It's a picture of me exactly a year ago. I was eating a lot of junk food and drinking at least a bottle of liquor every day. And this is me now. And I still do all that shit. Gang, gang, bitch.
At the beginning of 2022, Brittany was trying to rebuild. 30 years old, 6 kids deep, and still standing like the world hadn't already tried to break her 10 times over. She was a woman who didn't just survive life, she fought it. Every day, every bill, every bad hand she was dealt, she fought back. Milwaukee was home again, and for a brief moment, peace felt possible. Family nearby. Kids smiling. Hustle strong. Her aunt said she had the spirit of Tupac, and not in a cliche sense people throw around when someone has been through some things. She meant it. Brittany had the kind of drive that could turn nothing into something, and then something into stability. GED, nursing license, a house, a new vehicle. Every time life tried to bury her, she came back with another win. The system might have failed her, but she never failed herself. She'd moved from Texas to Minnesota to Wisconsin, raising 4 kids by 25, and never letting the weight of single motherhood make her bitter. She hustled hard because nobody else was going to do it for her. Not family, not the fathers of her children, not the so-called friends who disappeared when things got rough. By February 2022, she just hit the milestone everyone celebrates, 30. And for once she let herself have some joy. Miami, drinks, dancing, laughter. For girls around her. No kids for a weekend. No chaos. Just freedom. But even freedom doesn't last long for women like Brittany. Because while she was celebrating, one of her best friends was drowning. Her best friend, Demetria, had been living in hell with a man named Terry Jackson. A man so violent, his name should have already been a permanent fixture in a courtroom. Everyone in Racine knew Terry had hands that didn't belong on women. He'd spent years perfecting the art of control through fear, fists, and fake apologies. A man who couldn't even keep up with his court dates, but somehow managed to keep finding new women to destroy. His rap sheet read like a resume for domestic terrorism, battery, drugs, assaults. Illinois, Wisconsin, it didn't matter where he went, violence was his address. By early 2022, Terry had yet another pending case in Racine County. He was out on bond, of course, because apparently in this country, a man can batter you on Monday and be back outside by Wednesday, strolling through the neighborhood like nothing happened. He'd been ordered not to commit new crimes, which he must have taken as a dare. When he failed to appear in court on February 22nd, a warrant was issued. But let's be honest, nobody in authority was in any rush to find him. The same system that should have been tracking him was probably at lunch. On February 20th, he attacked Demetria so badly she ended up in the hospital with both eyes swollen shut and cuts all over her body. He choked her, shoved his fingers into her eyes, and waved a box cutter across her face, promising to slice her from one side to the next if she opened her mouth. He told her she was going to die, and that he'd rather die by police than go back to jail. It was the kind of threat people love to write off as heat of the moment, until it's written into a coroner's report. Most abusers would have gone into hiding after that, but not Terry. His arrogance was bulletproof. He was so used to the system's laziness that he knew he could walk around freely, even with a warrant floating over his head. Brittany, being the loyal friend she was, told Demetria to get out, pack her things, and leave before he killed her. But what none of them realized was that they were already out of time. On February 27th, Racine police were called to George's Tavern after reports that 2 women had been brutally attacked. Witnesses described a scene straight out of a nightmare. A woman, bloodied, frantic, bursting into the bar screaming that he's trying to kill her. That woman was Demetria. The bar staff locked the doors and killed the lights as she hid in the corner beneath a window, shaking and bleeding. But even in her state, she managed to gasp out one more warning. There was another woman in danger, Brittany, and a little girl with her. A neighbor found the child, just 2 years old, standing in the yard in shock. No tears, no screams, just frozen. The kind of quiet that only trauma can teach a toddler. Moments later, Brittany rounded the corner, bleeding from the head, barely standing. She fainted when she saw her daughter safe, collapsing into the arms of strangers who carried her back inside. When police and paramedics arrived, both women were covered in wounds that only a hammer could explain. Brittany's skull was fractured, her head split open, and her body littered with staples and bruises. The man responsible, Terry, had escaped into the night. At the hospital, Brittany told police exactly what happened. She'd gone to help her friend collect her belongings when Terry stormed in and attacked both of them. She tried to defend herself while holding her daughter, tried to call 911, but couldn't dial fast enough. She was hit repeatedly in the head with a hammer while her baby was in her arms. And still, the state didn't arrest him. He was on the run, but the investigation was ongoing. In other words, business as usual. Days later, Brittany went on Facebook and did what too many black women have to do, tell their own story because nobody else will. Anybody who want to defend a man that beat me and my friend with a hammer need to unfriend me now, she wrote. I had my damn daughter in my arms the first couple hits. I didn't even touch him. He attacked me and said, bitch, you're not calling the police on me. He left me with a concussion, over 20 staples, and a fractured skull with a small bleed on my brain. He literally left us for dead. It was raw, furious, and heartbreaking. The cry of a woman who had done everything right and was still being punished for surviving. But what happens when you survive a man who swore you'd die? He gets angry that you're still breathing. In the weeks after the hammer attack, Terry was still out there somewhere. Brittany tried to live as normal a life as she could, posting, healing, being a mom. She even found the strength to wish her friend a happy birthday, writing, "It's me and her forever. I know this ain't how we planned it or how you wanted to spend today, but we gon' make it count 'cause you still alive and beautiful. I love you so much, sis." It was the kind of post that sounded like closure, but really, it was a goodbye she didn't know she was writing. Because on April 24th, 2022, Booker's worst fear came back to finish the job. That morning, police were called to her neighborhood after one of her children woke up and found blood in her bedroom. Their mother and her car were gone. Doorbell footage showed Brittany leaving the house with Terry behind her, forcing her to drive. He told her to move, to go. Somewhere between those words, she knew she wouldn't come back. Hours later, police found her car parked near 13th and Villa. She was in the driver's seat, dead, shot in the head. Blunt force trauma covered her body, a reminder that Terry had made sure she'd die the way he wanted, beaten and silenced. He'd made her drive around the city searching for Demetria, like some deranged scavenger hunt for revenge. When he couldn't find the friend, he murdered the woman who had saved her. Brittany Booker was killed because she cared, because she intervened, because she refused to let a man's violence go unchecked. And for that, she paid with her life, while the man who tried to kill her once was allowed to roam free long enough to make sure she never got another chance.
Brittany was the sweetest kid. She gave you anything of her back. She helped anybody.
Brittany Booker's father, Leonard Larry, is heartbroken. Police say 41-year-old Terry Jackson broke into her home and left with her. They say her body was found hours later nearby in her vehicle on Sunday.
You didn't have to do that to my kid.
This man is dangerous. He's callous. He has no regard for human life. And if you know where he is, you need to let us know.
The criminal complaint details Jackson's assaults of his ex-girlfriend and also Booker. One attack on February 20th where his bruised ex told police Jackson beat her unconscious in her car. And another on February 27th where she says Jackson attacked her and Booker with a hammer as she tried to get her belongings from his home.
She was holding my grandbaby, and because he was beating that girl again, and Brittany tried to break it up.
Larry says police could have done much more to protect his daughter. Now he's urging the public to come forward.
This dude needs to be off the street. He took something from me very precious. I'm gonna get that back.
Terry didn't disappear after the murder. He ran, but not far enough. For nearly a month he was on the run, crossing state lines like he was on tour. Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Texas, Arizona.
U.S. Marshals are holding nothing back in describing 41-year-old Terry Jackson, the fugitive accused of murdering Booker.
Terry Jackson is a coward. He's desperate. He's running scared.
The U.S. Marshal on the case says Jackson was originally wanted for attempted homicide. He says in February, Jackson tried to end Booker's life and the life of another woman in a barbaric crime.
In February of 2022, Terry Jackson attacked 2 women. He brutally attacked them with a hammer and tried to beat them to death.
Police say Jackson fled to Texas. When he returned to Racine, he committed the second and fatal attack against Booker. Police have so far identified and charged 3 women for helping Jackson hide from authorities.
There are a number of people who have assisted Terry Jackson in avoiding apprehension.
U.S. Marshals warn anyone else caught helping him hide will also face charges for harboring or aiding a felon, a crime that carries a penalty of up to 10 years in prison. Jackson is 5'9". He weighs 200 pounds. He goes by the nickname of Scooter Man. He can be identified by a distinct tattoo.
Block lettering with a tribal of a scorpion or spider legs surrounding that block lettering.
The FBI and U.S. Marshals eventually caught him in Chicago on May 22nd. He looked smug in his arrest photo because why wouldn't he? He'd already won.
And then I was going to ask too, obviously we saw 3 women apprehended as well for harboring him. Is there any more connected to Illinois?
I'm not sure yet. It would seem that there might be, but since it didn't occur in our jurisdiction, we'll have to have conversations with them to see if they're willing to bring a similar charge for whoever who is harboring him.
So he's in custody in Chicago right now?
Yes.
Is there any sort of extradition process?
He will be extradited back to Wisconsin.
Is there a timeline on that?
I don't have one. What I can say is during the course of an extensive interview, he did offer a confession.
I was going to say, because early on, what we've seen in criminal complaints too, it's not like the complaints accusing him, like you guys are very certain he did this.
Yes, yes.
What would show, if you can offer, so clear that he was the person?
I can't offer that up, however, given that he confirmed what we had already investigated. Once that comes out, more of that information will be available during the trial.
So you imagine then, with the confession, that this would be relatively quick through prosecution and that?
One never knows through the court system.
3 women, Alicia Sykes, Carmelita Walker, and Diamond Hood, helped him hide, travel, and live comfortably while he was a fugitive. One of them even dated him. Another called him family. They helped a man who beat women with hammers. They helped him like loyalty was a badge of honor instead of a disease. Terry was finally charged with 23 counts, including first-degree intentional homicide, 2 counts of attempted homicide, kidnapping, stalking, battery, and 12 counts of felony bail jumping. Basically, a lifetime of crimes compressed into one charging document. Yet even with that mountain of evidence, the case crawled through the system like justice had to be begged for. He filed motions, delays, excuses, anything to buy time. 3 years later, Brittany's family is still waiting to see him sentenced, waiting to face the man who destroyed their world. The irony is disgusting. The state could find the time to issue a warrant, but not to enforce it. They could process his paperwork, but not his danger. And while they moved at a slow pace, Brittany's 6 children were left motherless. On May 11, 2022, her loved ones gathered to lay her to rest. Her casket was surrounded by flowers and heartbreak, her children forced to say goodbye before they even learned how to process loss. 30 years old, a mother of 6, a woman whose only crime was being brave enough to help a friend. The funeral was described as beautiful, but grief has a way of dressing up tragedy so people can stand to look at it. Beneath the hymns and hugs was a single, burning truth. This didn't have to happen. Brittany was the definition of strength. She wasn't just a mother, she was a provider, a protector, a friend, and a fighter. The world took her resilience for granted. She tried to save someone else, and nobody saved her. Her story is a brutal reminder that loyalty can be fatal when the system's loyalty lies with the abuser. So when people say, "Rest in peace," it feels hollow. Because how can she rest when the man who killed her still breathes freely between court appearances, still manipulates the system that once ignored him? How can her family rest when every reminder of her bravery is tied to her death? The only peace Brittany deserves is justice, not the kind that gets written into press releases, but the kind that finally makes people in power lose sleep, the kind that forces them to change how they treat domestic violence victims before they're memorialized. Until then, her story stands as a warning, a symbol of love, loyalty, and what it costs when you stand up to a man the world refuses to sit down. Brittany Booker was more than a statistic. She was a mother who fought until the end, a friend who refused to abandon another woman in danger, and a human being who deserved protection. May Brittany Booker rest in peace.